Though he is not as famous as prophets like Isaiah and Jeremiah and Amos, the prophet Habakkuk offers a powerful testimony in his brief book. He engages one of life's most difficult questions, one that all of us are likely to grapple with at some point. The question is this: when we experience suffering and sorrow, how can we trust God? Habakkuk helps us find our way to an answer, not minimizing pain or patronizing us with a pat response, but rather showing us how to honestly grapple with God. Although we do not know for sure, it is likely that Habakkuk's ministry occurred at some point during the time of the first deportation of Judean leaders to Babylon. It was a time when God's promises seemed to be falling apart, and the people found themselves both spiritually and geographically disoriented. The first two chapters of this book present a conversation between Habakkuk and the Lord, and the third chapter offers a psalm of trust in God. Despite the brief nature of this book, as Susan shared, it has played an important role in Judaism and in Christianity. The Dead Sea Scrolls, which are manuscripts of parts of the Hebrew Bible dating from the 3rd to 1st centuries BCE, include an ancient scholar's commentary on Habakkuk. That in the New Testament, the Apostle Paul refers to Habakkuk in both his letters to the Romans and the Galatians to support the core Christian doctrine of justification by faith. And in modern times, the words of Habakkuk, his honesty before the Lord, have given voice to 20th century questions people raised about the presence of God in the midst of atrocities like the Holocaust. Thus, throughout the centuries, this ancient book has spoken to people about a question all of us face. The book begins with a complaint, as Habakkuk says this to the Lord: "How long shall I cry for help, and you will not listen? How long will there be violence, destruction, and injustice on earth, and you will not save?" Sometimes people have this idea that prayer should always be polite. But Habakkuk gives us a different kind of prayer, a prayer of anger, of hurt, and heartbreak. He teaches us that angry prayer is okay because it is honest with God. God can take it, and God will help us work our anger through. Habakkuk accuses God of not listening to his people and of refusing to save them. He accuses God of staying silent in the face of wrongdoing and letting the wicked swallow up the righteous. That's not actually true of God, but it is true about how Habakkuk feels in this moment. He feels like God is silent. He feels like God is indifferent to suffering. That is Habakkuk's experience in this moment. Sometimes we too can feel as though God has turned his back on us. Jesus himself felt that way on the cross. But God never leaves us or forsakes us, not even when we feel that God has. We hear a powerful response from God to these complaints. God gives Habakkuk exactly what he needs in order to trust. God promises him that justice will come. God urges Habakkuk to trust him and to wait for God's timing, assuring him that evildoers will not prevail and that the righteous will live by trusting in the character of God. Habakkuk prays fervently for this justice to come, saying, Lord, I have heard of all you have done. In our own time, revive it. In our own time, make it known. And so by remembering God's power at work in the past, Habakkuk finds strength to trust in the present. A way to trust God in the midst of his suffering by envisioning this day when God will make all things new. Moreover, God assures Habakkuk that often, in hidden and quiet, behind-the-scenes ways, goodness, healing, and divine justice are at work. God says this, "Look at the nations and see. Be astonished, be astounded, for a work is being done in your day that you would not believe, even if you were told." There is a sense here that we can let God open our eyes to catch a glimpse of hope beyond anything we can see with our own abilities. Because as God affirms here, no matter how bad things look, he is at work for good. By the end of this brief book, Habakkuk has found hope in the Lord. Hope enough to put his trust in God, even when deliverance is delayed, even when he cannot see what God is up to. Habakkuk waits in trust, for he has been assured deep in his soul that God will be victorious. Goodness will win, and Habakkuk finds the faith he needs to face the present day. Within this wider arc of the book of Habakkuk, we find the powerful closing words that we heard a few minutes ago. Here, Habakkuk has moved from his opening lines of angry accusation to a deep place of trusting in God no matter what. He says, "Even though the fig tree does not blossom, and no fruit is on the vines, though the produce of the olive fails, and the fields yield no food, though the flock is cut off from the fold, and there is no herd in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will exult in the God of my salvation. God the Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer and makes me tread upon the heights." That is a powerful affirmation. And these are words that we can turn to in our own times of trial to help us declare our trust in the Lord, no matter what. Here at PPC, we have had a modern-day Habakkuk in our midst, a man who grappled with suffering and yet found a way to trust in the Lord. His name was Stephen Baruti. Many of you knew him, and a number of you were at his funeral here just 2 weeks ago. Stephen, who had served as an American Baptist pastor, battled terminal cancer over the course of his final years. During this time, Stephen went through many different types of treatment, both standard and experimental, enduring difficult side effects. And throughout his journey, Stephen grappled with the very questions posed by Habakkuk. Where is God in the midst of suffering? Last November, just 2 days before Thanksgiving, when he knew that his treatment options were coming to an end, Stephen wrote these words to me on the topic of suffering and faith. He writes, "I do not believe that having cancer or dying from cancer is God's will. I've never believed that God is deliberately deciding who will have cancer, who will die in a bad accident, or be killed by someone. I don't believe in a God who gives children cancer. People get sick. People get in accidents. People make bad lifestyle choices, and sometimes bad things just happen. If we are never challenged by different life events, then we will never be able to demonstrate how we trust God even when bad things happen. He continues, I don't blame God. I trust God and thank God for the life I have had. I don't know how soon the cancer will take my life, but I am going to try to enjoy every minute I have left. I truly love God and trust him completely. People of God, we need that kind of witness. We need it from ancient believers like the prophet Habakkuk, and we need it from modern day people of faith like Stephen. People who show us how to trust God no matter what. The truth is that life can be very hard, and Christians are not exempt from suffering. What is different for us is that we know we do not suffer alone. We are strengthened by the God who is faithful, the God who never leaves us, the God who never forsakes us, not even if we think we have slammed the door on God. For like a mother who will not forsake her nursing child, like a father who runs to welcome the prodigal home, God is faithful still. So whatever you may be going through today, whatever burden may be on your heart, whatever worry is in your mind, whatever illness may be in your body, you are not alone. You are loved. God is with you always, and God will see you through. Amen.